everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations, and I have a quick reminder tutorial or a refresher tutorial on how to cut large mats out of your 12 by 12 paper and how to get the most bang for your buck on your paper. So there's an old trick, it's been around for a long time, on how to cut 4 5 by 7 mats out of a 12 by 12 piece paper. Because if you cut straight down at 7, you will get 2 7 by 5s, but then you have this piece here that you'll only get 1 sheet. So there's a great trick to use, but you can also alter that to other paper sizes. So the question came up because I had made this beautiful photo box project that Tamara did, and I did do a separate video on this, but you do need to cut several 6 3/4 by 5 sheets. And so I'm going to show you how to kind of alter the math so that you can do this, because it does work really well. Now, this is for anything, you know, any mat that is bigger than 4 by 6, because as we all know, if you want to get 4 by 6 mats, all you got to do is cut from a 12 by 12 paper 3 strips that are 4 inches wide and then cut at 6, right? Well, anything bigger than like 4 by 6, this is where this trick comes in handy. So it will give you the most bang for your buck. So let's get started by doing the method for a 5 by 7. And there's a couple things that you need to do. So for a 5 by 7, we want a really nice 12 by 12 piece paper. So always in your trimmer that you are going to use, make sure that your paper is 12 by 12. Okay. That is very important because otherwise your cuts will be a little bit off. So I'm just measuring and looking at this and making sure, yep, this is 12 by 12. It was just slightly off on that side. The other thing that you need to have is a trimmer like this. Now, I know that some folks can do it with a rotary cutter. I have not mastered that technique. I think it is way easier and much more accurate if you use a trimmer with this kind of slide blade rather than like a rotary trimmer. The other hint and tip that I want to give you, especially when you're cutting down smaller sizes that are less than 5 by 7 but bigger than 4 by 6, is that you want to use the same trimmer to cut your paper down to start initially. I know that for myself, my dolly trimmer is amazing, but when I cut something on my dolly and then I come to this, sometimes the measurements are a little bit off, and that's just the way that trimmers are. So whatever trimmer you're going to use it for the whole thing. All right, so we're going to start by doing the method with the 5 by 7. So again, if you were to just cut this at 7, you would only get 3 mats out of this. But if we're going to do this pinwheel kind of cut method, then you're going to be able to get more mats. So what you're going to do is take your 12 by 12 paper, and we're going to put it in our cutter, and we're going to line it up at the 5-inch mark. Okay, so the mats we want are 5 by 7. So we're going to line it up at the 5-inch mark. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slide this down to 7 inches. Okay, so you have to kind of go slow and make sure that you stop at the 7. Okay, that's all you're going to do. So the 5 is at the top. We just cut down to 7. Raise this up, take your paper, and I turn mine counterclockwise and put it back in. So now that slit that we made is at the bottom. Line it up again at 5. Okay. And then when you put this down, before you really, press on your blade, make sure it's at the same spot. It should be at the same spot where we stopped cutting. And you're going to cut that up at 5. And you have your first 5 by 7 mat. Then you're going to lift this up. You're going to turn your paper, again, counterclockwise. Line it up at 5. All right. And cut your second 5 by 7. Then you're going to turn it, line it up by 5, or at 5, I should say. Cut. There's your third 5 by 7. And then your fourth will be naturally cut. And this is the only waste that you have, is this little square that was in the middle. Okay. So that is for the 12 by 12. And so let me show you just really super fast. If we were to put this all back together, this is how it would lay out. Okay, so that's how you ended up making those pinwheel cuts. Okay, and this is the little teeny tiny square that we missed, because otherwise you would end up cutting your paper like this, and you're going to have a strip down here, and then you're going to have this big chunk here. So that's how you can get 4 out of 1 piece of paper. Now, for this particular project, this is 6 3/4 by 5. Now, here's the trick. Those two dimensions have to equal 12 or less for this to work. So 6 3/4 here plus 5 is 11 3/4. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to know. So that means that we need to cut our 12 by 12 down to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. Okay, so we're going to take our cutter again. And again, this is where I was saying use the same cutter that you're going to use to make these mats, because you really want to make sure that it's right. Okay, so I'm going to line this up and at 11 3/4, and I'm going to trim it. So that is waist, and then turn it and trim it again to make it 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. So that again is the measurements. You're going to take the width plus the height, and it has to equal 12 inches or less for this to work. All right, so now that we've got this cut, what we're going to do, and you only have 2 little strips that we wasted right there, then what you're going to do is, this is 6 3/4 by 5. So I usually start with the smaller of the 2 measurements here, and I'm going to go 5 inches. All right, and instead of cutting to 7, we're going to cut to 6 3/4. All right, so I'm just going to run that down to my 6 3/4 mark. I'm going to carefully lift it up, so I'm trying to keep my blade in the same place. And then we're going to turn it, and I need a new blade, you can tell, and this paper is so old and dry, it's just fraying. This is practice paper. So I turned it again, counterclockwise, put it at 5, and then I'm going to drop that and cut up. And this is 5 by 6 3/4. Okay, so there's cut 1, and then you just repeat that process. So we lift this up, we turn it counterclockwise, we go to that smaller measurement, which is 5. Okay, do that, turn it, line it up at 5 again. Okay, turn it, and then you have your last one, and then this is the little piece plus those 2 strips that we're going to waste. All right, so let's do some other size. Let's say, let me grab a Post-it and we'll write this down. So that's pretty much it. So let's do one more so you can kind of see. So let's say that we wanted to get, here's our mat size that we're going to want, and it has to be, it has to equal 12. So let's say we want to go 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. Let's say that. Okay, so we want that size. Let's just say 6 1/4 plus 4 3/4 is 11 inches. Okay, so we need to cut our paper to 11 by 11 to get those sizes. Okay, so we're going to take our paper and put it in our cutter. We need to trim it to 11 by 11. So we're going to take off an inch. All right, and then we're going to turn it, take off another inch, make it 11 by 11. Okay, and then we're going to make our cuts. So this time we're going to line it up at 4 3/4. And when we put this blade down, we're going to cut down to 6 1/4. Okay, so just go slow, go to that mark, 4 3/4 up here, 6 1/4 here, lift that up, and just repeat the process. But this time we're going to 4 3/4. That's that smaller measurement, saying we want mats that are that size. I'm going to drop that, cut, and this will be 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, so there's cut 1. Repeat the process. Just turn, line it up at 4 3/4 at that smaller of the 2. Cut. There you go. There's number 2. And then we're going to line it up here, 4 3/4, cut number 3, and then number 4 will naturally come. And then this is the last little bit. And boy, this paper is old. It's not cutting very well at all. This is all the waste that you'll have. And you get 4 mats out of 1 piece of paper, which is really good. So that's basically how you do it. So just remember that for the mats that you're cutting, again, this is anything greater than 6 by 4, okay? Because 6 by 4, you can just cut the strips, like I said, then cut those at 6 and you get all those things. But anything bigger than that, if these 2 measurements add up to anything less than 12, this method works perfectly. And that's how I try to maximize the use of my cardstock when I'm cutting a lot of photo mats, and they might be in kind of different sizes, okay? So I hope that made sense. Let me know if you have any other questions or comments, and I will see you again soon. So happy crafting and have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.